Welcome back to Stu Structures. We're here for week 7 and the final week of the Weaver train station, so stay tuned. So we are here to finish the Weaver train station this week. This has turned out to be a real nice looking building. I mean, I'm not going to go a whole lot into details on platforms and that kind of thing, but we do have the platforms and a porch and, a stone stoop to finish for this building. We have some downspouts. We have a little work to do on the roof to finish the roof. But it's coming along, and I think we can get it done in this video. So let's jump into this and see how far we can get. Alright, so in the last video we had left the roof kind of in this place, and I think eventually I'm going to come back and put another layer of black paint on this, but it really turned out to be a good looking roof. And we had to trim around where the roof meets the building. I still got to touch up the red and black paint and make it look a little cleaner looking. But basically on top we have this turret that where the roof meets the turret up there, and I want to put that same red trim around that as well. So I just start coming back and cutting all the pieces just one by one and working those all around the edge of that turret. And this is not rocket science or anything, and I definitely have to come back. Just touching up all this paint will make this thing look a whole lot better than it does at this point. But just putting this trim on there really will clean up the looks of where the tar paper meets, the edge of the roof. So, it's just the easiest way to deal with this. You could have used tar paper to begin with and overlap this side down over that, but it looked like it had a facial board or something in the picture, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and just so it matches the rest of the building, I'm just going to paint this red the same as I did the trim where the other roofs meet. And I just come all the way around this and put individual boards on this, and then once that's done I'll come back and touch up the paint, and this edge will be done on this roof. Now the next step is, I want to start working on those platforms, and I have this semi-thick wood that I decided, okay, I'm going to use these for the runners underneath of the decking itself. So I just cut a bunch of these. I've got a little porch to make too, so one little extra, and I probably cut one too many, but I've got what I want, and they're just basically 3 by 12s. And I come back and paint those black, and then I need 2x6s for the decking on top. So I just come back, and because I want all these to be exactly the same length, I break out the chopper, and this is 52 feet long, so I need over 100 of these. So this is just the quickest and easiest way to do it, besides wanting to have them all the same exact length. And then I come back and start putting it together once I stain it. And to stain it, I just mix some, black paint in a real thin wash in a bowl. And I just took a big old thick brush and just, dapped big clumps of these basically. And that way it got nice uneven texture and color throughout them. There was a couple of them I just put aside and came back and did a second wash on. But the platform would have been really used a whole lot, so it wouldn't have been nice and bright paint. Of course, most of the building probably wouldn't have either, but this has a nice used look to it. And you can come back with some type of a real heavy metal brush or something and do some pathways and that kind of stuff in it later. But once I have the length of this made that I need to have, I cut this down to length and go ahead and mount this on the building. And once the glue is really tight, I've got to put some outer legs on this. So I went through my basswood and I found this, square stock that I thought, well, this will make a nice size leg for underneath the outer edge of all that. And once again, I'm just going to break out my chopper because I want all these to be exactly the same height as well. There's nothing worse than coming back and gluing a bunch of uneven ones in place and then having to sand or cut them down once you have them in place to get them to set level on wherever you're putting your building. So once I had stained those, I come back and put those at every 8 feet on center, and I basically have, the whole support system in place for the deck. Now I need 2 sets of stairs for this. There's a porch off the back side, and off this end of the platform I also need some stairs. So that real thick, 3x12s that I took, I just cut all these pieces and put 45s on 2 pieces for each of the stairs. And to mount these, the stair treads to these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 2x2 and I'm just going to cut some real short pieces that are just slightly wider than that board. And what I do is on those 45-degree ends of the boards, I have to have stair treads that are 90 degrees to that end. So I just take these and glue these into place, and they're running a little wild here, so once the glue is dried, I just flip them over and cut the ends flush with the stair treads. And then once the stringers and everything are together, I glue the treads on them, and I come and glue that on the end of my deck. Now the spacing is a little wide in this, so I'm going to come back and revisit the stairs on this, but this will give you an idea of where this is going to be. And that porch on the back side of the building, I just take that same 3x12 material and cut 4 sides. 2 sides are slightly longer than the other sides because I want this to be square. So I come back and glue 2 parts of that square together into 90-degree angles using my square, and then come back and glue those together, and we have the frame for underneath of the deck. And once that's done, that same 2x6 decking that I used for the others, I had made some extras of, so I come back and glue that all onto the porch, and we basically have our porch. Simple and easy. And since there's only 2 legs on this one, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-glue the legs on this, because this won't be hard to glue into place on the building and have the legs, set flush on the ground. So I just went ahead and mounted the legs prior to mounting on this building, and then came back once the glue had set up and just glued this underneath that door on the back side of this building. And then, the other set of stairs that we had made, I just came back and, I had made these a little wide because that platform was wide. So I came back and revisited this and, put 3 treads in it and just made this a little more narrow and added this to that porch. Now another thing is gutter pipes that we need to add to this building. And I just went through and found this real small round styrene stock that I had in my drawer. And pretty much they're straight down pipes except for one that is on that platform side. And I just took a lighter and a pair of tweezers and held this up, and with a lighter just got it soft and just bent this a little bit to get it to fit under here. And then I mounted it, and I did go ahead and paint it with some of that same white paint, and then glued it on here because they took away the shine that the styrene had. It just, it's a slick look, and I didn't want it to look that way. And then I just come back and start cutting all these, straight pipes for the rest of the building. And basically there's 4 pipes as downspouts on this building. And I'm just coming through here and adding one of these to each of the sides of the building. And once I get this last one mounted on this end of the building, then, basically that's the downspouts in place. And there's not a whole lot, that adds most of the detail to this. There's just one, other stoop that we need to make for that door on the end, and it was just stacked layers of stone. So, I thought about different materials, and I just thought, well, I'm going to make this easy, and I just found this really thick balsa wood, and I'm coming through and just cutting all the parts I need to make that stair. And this had steps that came up from the outside edges as well as the front edge. So it was, shaped similar to this. So once I glue all those pieces together, the top 2 I had to cut just a little more narrow on the back side because the band board where the building meets the stone structure stuck out just a little bit. And then I just put some gray primer on this, and to make it look like stone, I just created a real wet wash on this and then just started adding some whites and tans and other colors. And, I didn't get a finished picture of the porch. There's more color in it than what this picture shows. And the very last piece I need to add to this building is, I'm not sure if it was a flagpole or what, but on that octagon building on top, there was a mast that stood up above. And I found this part out of an old ship model, and I came back and cut a piece a little longer than I wanted to begin with. And this had divots in it where it glued to other stuff on the ship model, so I just filled some of that in with the vinyl spackling and added black paint to this. And then I sanded it down, and it just got a clean look to it. And I come back and cut it, that was real long to begin with, so I came back and cut it to about the height that I wanted, and I'm gluing this on top of the turret. And basically that's everything on this building. So now my exciting time of any building is putting this on the turntable and giving this an overall view at the end of the last video. And I really do like this building. This turned out to be a really nice looking structure. This is going to be, a nice piece and a center focal point of the Billington area yard when I go to put this scene together, hopefully later this year, on a little diorama that I can show locally. So there you have the last segment of the Weaver train station. I'm very pleased with this building. This will make a nice addition to the Billington yard at some point in time. One thing I am planning on doing is that, well, the reason I'm doing it is that every year we have what's called a nostalgia day here in Billington. And, usually I have a history collection of Barber County, and I just have thousands and thousands of pictures that I've got from different collections digitized in a large collection. And I show it during those days to people that want to stop and look at some of our history. And we have a rich history in Billington, West Virginia. This was really an up-and-coming place at the turn of last century. So the fact that we had 2 train stations in Billington and 4 railroads that met in Billington, and most people have no idea of our history here. So, the reason I'm building a lot of these buildings, well, they will be for my own layout eventually, but I would like to put a diorama together of a lot of these old structures to show during the nostalgia days here in Billington. And I'm hoping maybe to get it together. It's the end of the summer, so I think I've got enough time, and maybe I've got one more railroad station to build. And it's a brick structure, and it's really ornate. It's going to be, a very tedious build. I can't find windows for it, so I'm going to have to scratch build windows, and I won't get into it any more than that. But it was just a nice structure. So that's the reason for me building a lot of this stuff, for the time being, until I can get a layout. I would like to show people a little bit about our history. And most people, where this station sits now is a gravel parking lot behind a building. Between the building and the railroad, is where this would have sat. And there would have been extra tracks there that served this railroad. This railroad hasn't been around since around 1909, 1911, something like that. So, this disappeared early in our history, and very few people know that this existed. So, I think it'll be fun to build this to begin with. I've wanted to start parts of my layout for a long time, and because I really just don't have a place for a layout right now, especially what I want to build is going to take a lot of room. Grafton Yard itself is just a huge chunk of real estate in a model railroad yard. But anyway, I figured, well, I can build, maybe 4 small modules and put what was Billington together so people could view it. There was a Y down at one end that I would like to include in that, which had a handle factory. It was various different wood products over the years, but in the latter part of its history, it was a handle factory. So there was a lumber yard there and a mill and a lot of things like that, which I'll have to build. But I thought if I could just get the 2 train stations and all the buildings that I've built to this point together for this year's nostalgia days, then I'll go ahead and build those 2 modules, and or maybe 3 of the 4 modules, and have that together for this year's nostalgia days. So that'll be an interesting start, and then I'll have small parts of my eventually layout that I'll put together. So in any case, that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. In any case, thank you for coming back and sharing this time with me. I do appreciate it. I keep picking up a few subscribers here and there, and I think I'm around 800 at this point in time. So my channel's growing little by little. I hope that people out there are learning something. And like I say in every video, grab something and scratch build. Even if it's something small, an outhouse, a chicken coop, whatever. It's very satisfying to scratch build things and put them on your layout when you're said and done with it. And I've been doing this since I said in one of my videos, like maybe 8 years old, 7, 8 years old or something. I mean, a lot of my stuff was pretty crude, especially as a kid when I started. And I've mentioned too that I can take this one step further, and get more realism and weathering and all that type of thing in my structures. But I just choose to do this the way that I'm doing it. Is it perfection? For me, it's fine. For somebody else out there wanting to do the next level, maybe not. It doesn't matter to me. It's my railroad. It's my world. I'm creating it. I'm the one in charge. So I'm going to do what I want to do. But anyway, that's what it's all about. Enjoying the hobby. Happy model railroading.